my, how it's all changed. The 7th of May. It's a sunny day. Hey, hey. What's all this about? How are you? Let me know if you're viewing, if you're in, so I can see how the chat works, because at the minute it's updated, and it's been a while since me, myself and I, the royal we, did a random live cast. We don't need any of that. Silencio. Some things to say, some things to chat about, and I just want to download off the back of the cast that we did the other night, Monday night. It's Wednesday now. Come on, David. So, first of all, off the back of the chat we did last Monday, I've been up since 4 a.m. I'm tired. Leave me alone. If you're viewing, say hello or something so I can see how the chat works, because at the moment it's all new, apps updated, and I want to see how it works. We talked about a woman being sentenced and serving time for writing some nasty, hurty words, and then an afterthought was like, when we was at school, many of us, we used to have a saying, a school playground chant, and it was sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words will never hurt me. You may recant that yourselves, yes. Now we live in a time where hurty words, can get you locked up. I'm not sure what this woman's written to get sentenced for 3 years, but there are rapists being released on a shorter sentence than what this lady's currently been served. So then we got Nigel Farage on the news the other month saying about the Labour Party and its breach of manifesto, which is effectively a breach of contract. And we've talked to you for years about contractual obligations, breaches of contract, how to interpret contracts, read the contracts, how a contract is formed, all the points to that. And we've also pointed out that the public trust, the general public, in a misconstrued relationship, in implied public trust, and so therefore, there's an importance to note that it isn't all contract. And we've got the ecclesia, we've got everything else, underpinning everything in its respective hierarchy and authority. So the judiciary is running amok and doesn't seem to be regulated very well. Here at this channel, SPLS Pro, we are independent private regulators, as are yourselves, journalistic in nature. All right, so we've got disarray and mistrust, breaches of contracts, which you'd call breaking of promises, trust, mistrust, government in itself, the judiciary, the parliamentary areas, and then the monarchy. So when we talk about sovereignty, and we've explained sovereignty to you, as one of the world's leading voices on sovereignty before you today, as of the 2025, I can tell you that you need to consider not another party, not reform. I see the construct and the narrative and the rhetoric, what is happening out there on the world stage, and I'm like, when will humanity learn? When will I make a video that hits the nail on the head, points it all out, bish bash bosh, and makes you all think, actually, I think he's got a point. I can't see another way out of it. Yeah, I'm happy to debate sovereignty and who is the world's leading voice on sovereignty another time. But truth being sovereignty, as you'll find in the annexes of the maxims of commercial law. And sovereignty references in the Bible are over 200. We'll say KJV 1611, because that is the source of authority for the Londinium Templars legal society's legal system and law system. All right, so sovereignty, self-governance. In the playground, when there was somebody with sweets and there was a bully, and the bully came up and wanted to take the sweets, and we was all together, the bully thought twice, because they knew, generally it was a boy, but we'll say they, to keep everybody happy, they knew not to mess. But when you was on your own, there was times where you got your back up to the wall, and you knew what was coming, and you didn't have any, pals around you for backup, and you had to defend. Yeah, those were the laws. Those are the rules. You knew there and then that he was doing wrong. He knew he was doing wrong. You knew you had to defend. This is common law, you know. And I think this country, this nation, this landmass, this group of souls before us, we need to consider what sovereignty is, you know, and self-governance. Do we need government? Why was government formed? When was government formed? You know, I believe you'll find it was something like war times to help with war and certain trade routes and etc., commerce and structures of. So the judiciary, the parliamentary, the monarchy, they are breaches of contract. Therefore, duties and obligations are nullified by all parties because of said. You can view it how you want. This isn't legal advice, but what I'm saying is, so we opt for, because of the mistrust, because of the public scandals, you know, Grenfell, wow, still no one's paid the price. Still there's council blocks, housing blocks up there, public stock that is insufficiently cladded, that is at the same risk. Yeah, lives are at risk now. How much will you put up with? When will you show me that there's a better way than what we are proposing in remedy? So when we speak of remedy, and you immediately think of TDA and pots of gold and equity cards and fast cars and untold riches and wealth, that's wrong. You know, when we speak of remedy and when we speak of equity and its true, honest root meaning, you know, and what it should mean between us all, is everyone should have a roof over their head. Everyone should have education. Everyone should have the basic means to live provided for them. We shouldn't be charging. We shouldn't be going down the road we're going down. We shouldn't be hoping for another party, another colour, another president, etc., to lead us the way, because I think that we could do a better job doing it ourselves, but we're not going to get a chance to. But you have the option for self-government, because you can't trust any government, judiciary, parliamentary officer, police, metropolitan, officers all around the globe. Yeah, so this legal executive administration that we see before us, with underpinnings of ecclesia, we can't deal with it, and we won't deal with it, and we'll refuse to deal with it, all right? But we recognise it, and we recognise that it has a right to exist and coexist. So we have a remedy for the way out, which would be for the option to be self-governed. Yeah, why not? Everyone else is claiming such crazy mental things at the minute. Then, you know, in light of present calamities, hazards, mishaps, misfortunes, you know, lies, where we're at, you're not going to take the system down. You're not going to change the system. There's two powerful parties at play. We recognise that. Pick your battles wisely. So we opt for the option to be private, to move from the public to the private, to be self-governed souls. It's as simple as that. Genesis 2:7. When God breathed the breath of life into Adam, Adam became a living soul. Not a freeman on the land, not a sovereign citizen. All right? So there's remedy part, you know, subsection 1A. Yeah, in the 82nd Psalm, Jesus is quoted as saying, "Have I not said, ye are all gods?" You know, and other teachings in the scriptures of the codification of the manuscript that is known as the heliocentric bibliothèque, the Bible, the basic information before leaving Earth. So if this sounds like an option where we all get together and we move to the private and we opt for self-governance and we require alternative provisions to the current present bankruptcy, fiat, fiscal chaos that is known as cash and credit, all right, we'll still deal with cash and credit, but we won't be considered debtor. You know, we'll be more creditor-debtor, creditor relationship. Those of you that know, you move as to the creditor from the debtor. Simple as that. From trustee or legal possessory title to the beneficiary, the sole beneficiary with equitable title. You know, they have sole traders, they have sole other, you know, it's recognised. It may be all perverted and somewhat bastardized in the language, but still, they're there, you know. So it's about time. The clock is ticking. I'm very tired. I don't need to be doing this live show cast, but I have missed you all. I haven't seen any chat. I did say enable chat, so I'm I'm very sorry about this. Oh no, ruined that, haven't I? Green screen. A little bit of day glow for you. I can't find the chat. If you're there, just give me a shout. But these are just little dumps off the back of what we did on the previous cast for those that have joined. Can I put a background on? Surely not. Oh, you can. Look at that. Look at this. Birmingham. Chaos. They must be bins in Birmingham or something. I didn't know you could do that. Still can't see the chat. We'll leave it like that because I can't turn it off. Everything's updated. It's been a long time since I've been here. The proverbial brown stuff is hitting the fan. It's like a case of national suicide, what we're seeing at the moment. So I felt the need to dump, and I'll watch this back and make notes of all the points that I've made. And I'll come live again. I'll come back live very shortly with a concise cast to talk about what self-governance is, how you can look at what you can consider as good self-governance. You don't need to be told the law and all of the 60 million codifications that there are in our codified constitution. So it's simple, common law is common law. When we speak of law, what law do we speak of? Common law. Yeah, when we speak, we need to also consider, this is the next bit I need to remind you of, extra supplementary bits after that shambolic shit show at the beginning. The tongue that we speak. I speak my mother's tongue, or if you want, Babylon, Babel, the confused tongue. But we also, by default, speak legalese, English, American English. It's considered legalese. Again, it's not legal advice, but when legalese looks like English, writes like English, and sounds like English, and you are out there in a public, legal, commercial capacity at all times, when you're out there as an employee, commercially active, when you're not, so it's a lot of time. So therefore, you need to actually hold on to that fact that this is not the way forward. This is full of liabilities. You're not trained legally. You're not an attorney. You're not a barrister. You're not of any counsel. You're not qualified. Neither am I, as I keep disclaiming with the caveat there. And it's perilous even to try to play this game, this legal game. So we don't, and we opt to stay out, and we don't understand. Are you with me? We do not understand. Therefore, we would need a foreign treaty because it's foreign. Even down to the landmass where the corporate city London resides. It's ensconced itself in London town since 1066-67, and the William I Charter was drawn, so the landmass and the occupation could remain. To coexist. So that's a separate landmass in itself to not just London city, London town, but to England landmass. So where was I going with that? So that's foreign. So not just the language of legalese disguising itself as English completely, but the implied meanings and definitions coming from Black's law. Something else, the legal that we allow, that we treat with contempt, is that the secret ingredients in foods, as far as I'm led to believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's carcinogenic in its nature, but it's also classed as a secret ingredient, does it need to be labelled at all in any of the ingredients? Or because it's carcinogenic, you'd think that the FDA and others worldwide, but basically the FDA, they would require a carcinogenic ingredient in any food for humans to be disclosed and labelled. You would think, wouldn't you? But I think it's the opposite. I think because it's classified as a secret ingredient and it's carcinogenic, they do not have to put it on the label. Now that's wrong. That's morally wrong. You're making a substance, I won't call it food, but and you're processing it, putting in stuff, it kills people. But if it's secret flavouring or something, product, I've posted lots in SPL's Telegram news update, so you'll find relevant posts there. How disgusted are you of that? Not only is the souls locked up, incarcerated for 36 months for writing hurty words on the internet, classified that as a crime they have, you know, and rapists being released in short sentence times. But you've got this going off. How do you feel about that? What do you reckon? You know, it gets to a point where we can't tolerate it anymore. The legalese deception, when you first find out about that, that's quite a shocker. That is a milestone of knowledge, awareness, that the contracts you sign are in legalese. Any banking, finance, HMRC, state, benefit, school, doctor, driving license, passport, all of it legal, but it's not lawful. So that's where we have to draw the line, the clear distinction. People that are saying the rule of law that you're following, that you're revering, that you're regurgitating the words of, that you're sharing the content of, just stop them and ask them, isn't there a clear distinction between rules and law? Rules can be broken. Law should not be. When you speak of law, you know, what laws do you speak of? So we recognise laws and we follow laws and we have laws and we've got goodness instilled in us. We're not natural born sinners like that book would have you believe. Oh, guilty, the sins of the flesh, etc. You know, it's come to the point where there are revelations and disclosures. Not only is the chaos and turmoil and mistrust and paedophilia and embezzlement and lies, and unregulated industries and institutions that are just basically allowed to do what they want, you know. And to example that, I keep going back to Grenfell and looking at where they're at and why nobody's been held to account and why there are still houses around in similar states with equal risk. You know, I look at what's being proposed. I listen to Nigel Farage and the rhetoric, and I think what we're proposing is the reason why this motion doesn't get any steam or momentum, because it can't. Because if the masses worked out that they didn't need government, that they can self-govern, that they have been self-governing for a while, like I mentioned on the previous show about trust and how I first encountered trust, it was getting a lay on, you know, getting a lay on, doing stuff, DJing, and then hopefully getting paid at the end of it, you know, working and then getting paid. Trust. You all encounter trust, and you use trust in many forms, and you've got this like, I don't know, people perceive it as complex. It is in some extent, and it can be, but on the basis of it, it's very simple. It's only like anything else, once mankind gets hold of it and starts tweaking it and, you know, perverting it in some way, it becomes rather complex and non-clear. But the basic premise is easy enough, you know. Knight versus Knight case law that we gave you years ago, the three certainties of trust, how to prove a trust is valid, how to recognise trust, you know, how to put items, property, hold on trust. So yeah, what can we do? What are the options? Oh, Nigel Farage and Donald Trump will save us all. Really? You think? Okay, good luck to you. We, on the other hand, think that self-governance needs to be talked of. Yeah, and reasons for good self-governance, sovereignty in itself, and what sovereignty entails. Yeah, and it's got many interpretations and definitions. I don't argue that, because you need the context of which it's being used in order to define it. So in this context, we're speaking of the context of spiritual sovereignty, lawful sovereignty, financial sovereignty, religious sovereignty. See where I'm going? Now, when you speak of law, so again, I may have had some time off and I may have been away, but I've had a lot of time to think and meditate and ponder on all that we've done, all that we've met, all that we've achieved, all that we've learned. I've listened to your praise, your grumbles, your feedback. Yeah, I've gone to see the quack. I said I don't feel right, I'm not right, things are changing, X, Y, and Z. This is what my family says. This is what my close friends say. And this is what people that know me say. And then I got tested. Yeah. Oh, autism. Okay. Asperger's. Okay. Possible dyslexia. Yeah, you've been tested for that. Definite dyslexia. Okay. ADHD. Okay. It means nothing to me. They're just letters and terminologies. But it's nice to have something to speak to my sired sons regards their genetic makeup. So yeah, I recognise the need to calm, to chill, to reflect. I've done that. I've thought about running away, shutting everything, deleting everything, but there's too much vested in this to actually, and we're too close. And I will repeat again, we've learned from history that it's only when we join up and become unified. I'm trying to think of all the perfect right words because I know that you all analyse and, it's pressure. So it's only then do we achieve our end goals. So each one of us can individually seek some sort of remedy and obtain what we believe to be remedy, and then sign some non-disclosure paperwork and sneak off and fill our faces and glorify ourselves with materialistic desires, lust and seven sins, etc. and great, but we've got bloods here, we've got clans, we've got unborn lineage to think of. So it's not just about looking after ourselves. I know I've got the capability. When the I forget his title. What was he? Something master at the Chancery said, David, what you've asked me for, I cannot give you at this. This court cannot provide. What? I gave him a good paragraph of wanting equitable relief and alternative provisions for the public trust and surety, and it was a good paragraph. It took me 2 months to write. So he read that and says, "You're at the wrong court, David. Crack on." We got things achieved over these 10 years, 2015, 2025. Yeah, 10 years in the game. A lot of things achieved. We've built and established a private educational foundational trust. That's a massive resource that I never imagined that, at school, being caned for, being a class clown because I found it difficult to read and write. I struggled with numbers and maths. I couldn't sit still. I had troubles at home. No, mum did. Single mum, 4 children, 4 souls. You can imagine. And I struggled. Got kicked out of home at 15. Alienated from my bloods. So emotionally, psychologically fractured. So we need to talk about and look at ourselves as well, our mental welfare, our mental wealth at some point, as well as, remedy. It comes in many forms. And the main remedy we need is to join together. All of us agree on the fact that we would like to opt for self-governance on the grounds of, we will lay that down and present that to you, to the board, whatever it needs to be, to the coalition steering wheel unison, and we'll move forward that way. But we'll provide everything, and you can argue with us or whatever and contribute and whatnot, but there's only one way forward, and it's not with them. It's like, as I said previously, imagine being married for 60 years, and on your 60th wedding anniversary, you found out that your missus has been, or your husband, or your partner has been cheating on you for the entirety of your marriage. Now, would you want to reconciliate that and spend the remaining time with them, or would, and I suspect the latter is the answer, would you want to get away from them and never see them again? End the relationship, cut it, kill it dead. So that's the kind of place we're at now. And we can't keep forgiving these, because it's corporate manslaughter, it's corporate murder, it's willful neglect, it's mistrust, it's abuse of power. It's we've got a list as long as you can imagine, right? So we can layer it, and we can articulate it, and we can present it, and we can follow and conform to the practice directions and operate privately, and look to move forward en masse together with the provisions for our future unborn lineage, so they don't have to go through this individually themselves. We will get things written into law, and we will stop the streets being full of rubbish like they've gone on strike in Birmingham and let things go how they've got their excuses, yeah, and we let them off every time, yeah. Technology is advancing, and I don't think progress is being made. Progress is when you progress logically and in the good of all, whereas technology is not in the good of all. It generally creates pollution and negative side effects which inhibit progress. So technology and progress, you may think we're in this grand age, and we're not there. We're far from it. But you might think because of HD TV and your smartphone and other such mod cons, your smart cars now, it's no, we're so far away. And I just wanted to do this memory dump and say there's a lot there's a lot that concerns me. There's a lot going wrong. There's a lot of unregulated miscarriages of what they call justice. And the only way to hold them to account is to know the game yourself, which is immensely hard, and proceed that way. Yourself privately, in a private capacity, is always a bonus. You have the right for this, your rights. What are your rights? When we speak of good self-governance, the respect of others' rights and the recognition of others' rights, the retention of yours, and how we meet in the middle there. Because it's getting bad. The youth have lost it, we're losing it, and everywhere else has lost it. And it doesn't seem that anybody can hold anybody to account anymore. And the answers and the provisions that are being given and the alternatives, the rhetoric and the narrative, it's insanity. Yeah, so you all have the option to govern yourself. And if you think that you should and you would like to, then stick with us, because more is to come. And we all present ourselves as one, a collective, a unison, whatever you want us to label us as or identify as. And then we announce, we have all of the necessary documentation ready, even such things as a peace treaty. Should it be declared that we are such and such under a terrorism, whatever, we can say, I don't think so. Bosh, there you go, look at that. When you include such narrative as their rhetoric, as the authority of law with the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, you quote chapter and verse to them, yes, because that is their own rule book. That is your ultimate redemption manual. Yeah, so that's why we quote it back to them. Latin, that's always nice to have. What they're doing at the minute, there's something the conclave. Research what a conclave is. Clave is Latin for key. I'll give you a head start if you want. But yeah, the world's most secretive event that you can have. If you watched any Dan Brown or anything like that, then yeah, great. You'll know a little bit about certain subjects of. But yeah, what's happening here, and do you trust them? Do you feel comfortable? Why is it the way it is? Why are we using thousands of years old traditions in some respects? It's worrying, it's disturbing. It's not us, it's all foreign. They shut you out. They have their privacy, they have their rights to privacy, secrecy, yeah. And you get shut out. So you need to start to retain reserve and know that there is a way. But the only way, and it's not a con, we don't need any money from you. We want support, and we want those that can help to help. It's not, oh, here we are again being busy fools. But if we all just think and slow down and have a word and say, now then, he's got an idea, yeah, and they've made some mistakes. He's a bit of a dick sometimes. Oops, fool. Scratch that. But still, when they get together, the good souls, they've done a lot. They've helped a lot. They've proven themselves. They've helped change the game. We've given more than we've taken. So yeah, and then we gather momentum, and we use that then, what we've done here, to implement as a skeleton key elsewhere, to unlock others, to unchain them from, the word would be indentured. You were indentured in some respects, and there's certain parties in the Bible are labelled as indentured. The revelations that are happening in architecture while I'm here, and I've got a bit of a rant going on here, just like old times. Here we go. What the discoveries of Egypt and architecture there, Göbekli Tepe, but Egypt, Sphinx, chasms, chambers underneath, the entirety of Egypt, the megalithic blocks of Lebanon, and such things as. the temples are just the megalithic structures and blocks themselves, and the civilizations, the revelations that are coming from that, the truth, Sumerians, now Göbekli Tepe, linking the origin of Sumer and Sumer technology, but obviously the handbag is all round with the watchmen, the ones that are, the Anunnaki, as far as it is written, an equivalent. They all have the bags around the continent. In all civilizations, they've released the fact that the flood, where, come on then, Enuma Elish? Or is it the other one? I think Enuma Elish. It's not the epic battle of, is it, Gilgamesh? Enuma Elish. It's the flood before the flood. Like Maxwell and others have said, Christianity before Christianity, the pre-Christian cross. So it's good that this revelation is coming. But what I'm worried about, and what we know, is that when fear is the dominant controller of man, it's not good. And when they start taking out, like, revelation of the Department of Defense with Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast, yeah, that's massively fractured humanity. Let alone there are too many massive simultaneous announcements, disclosures, revelations, and scandals happening for us all to handle. It is just yeah. So again, and it's being, like, you could argue Ukraine and Russia all these years, what's going off, the politics, the right, the wrong, but it's legal. Worship, how it is done, husbandry, husbands, cattle, chattel, ignorant, fools, sinners. No, we're not. We're not even violent, as such. But we have an opportunity now, okay, with what's going off, and the people that want to swap from man, human, to cat, dog, microwave, TV, fish, I don't know what, gender, assignment, reassignment, binary. So there is a time, a crossroads, a precipice that we're on, where we can segue in self-governing and sovereignty with that rhetoric and mix it up and say that because of X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 plus the underpinnings of trust law will leapfrog, springboard us into protection and advanced movement because of the correction of the misconstrued relationships and title rights returning back to the principle, the source, the beneficiary coming back to be known, returning for being lost at sea. All right, but different way of doing things, and doing it en masse. So let's say that there was a court case, and we the people, yeah, and I've already got things, like Benicia was saying he was doing, yeah, and Tobley, whoever it was, and others on Facebook and wherever, and I had allegations made against me, and my character was besmirched by allegations of ungentlemanly conduct, or in perhaps future unwanted, unintentional, or intentional ungentlemanly conduct. So yeah, I will bring that up and say, I didn't see much happen about that at all, but the Good Law Project seemed to kick some arse. The underdogs come up from somewhere and did it correctly, logically, and in line with practice directions, and succeeded. So there is many things happening that we don't see, we don't know about, we don't broadcast, that aren't broadcast, that are private, that are non-disclosed. Not everything is as conformist as what you may think it is. To find out that the language that you hear and see and speak is not what you initially thought it was. I didn't mention Old English. The language that we're going to speak, I went on a tangent and a splinter before, is going to be, we should look at Old English until we make our own sovereign lexicon, dictionary, and look at how to write correctly. This monosyllabic language that we're using at the moment is not my favourite. We will talk about mono, and the inclusion of mono from poly, monotheism, Akhenaten, Egypt, Aten, Arten, and we will talk about monosyllabic another time. I have got a presentation that's well overdue that I'd like to bring to you about all of this. It's going to blow your little, honestly, mushroom clouds. just like the good old days. But I needed to have some time off. I needed to think. I needed to meditate. After 10 years of having skin in the game, you know what? I actually just I said to Kevin and Anders and Bert, I was like, oh, it's too much. There's a film. I think it might be Johnny Mnemonic, is it, with older Keanu Reeves when he's a youngster? Yes, and he overloads. He doubles up, doesn't he, on the gigabytes? Get some seepage. Seepage. You all know what I mean about that, yeah? So, enough said, that's as real as it is. And I got some seepage. I got bleed. I thought, this is it. There's no recovering from this. This is what they mean when they say midlife crisis. Teeth falling out, yeah? Hair's going grey. Heart's playing tricks on you. Got no energy. Testosterone levels dropping. It's game over. Memories going. Turns out, I just needed a break. You need time to let it digest. The information that you've come across, that we've given you, the information sometimes is startling, shocking, harrowing. Hello, my darling. It's like we would say clandestine, nefarious, dark, ritualistic, sadistic. You know, the cult of Saturnalia. What a lovely name. So yeah, that's a good dump. I'm not going to do any more. I think that's enough. I didn't see any messages. I apologise for not shouting you out and saying what, but I can't see you, and it's all new. Oh. See you later. Much love and ciao for now. Bosh. Where is the X? Look at this. Yeah, I am sure.